crying.
Oh.
Oh. Here we go.
There you go.
Hi guys, so today I'm here to tell you the birth story about my son Cole.
I see. Oh, it's you. I see.
Oh goodness.
I'm digging.
You're Tegan. This is Cole. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jenny Sieber, and today I'm just going to be telling you about my birth story with this little man right here. I'll show him better whenever he's a little less fussy, but so this is my little son. His name is Cole, and he is 3 months old currently, so I'm filming this a little late, but I just wanted to tell you about my birth story and about how this little man came into the world. And if you have seen my previous birth story from my daughter, then you might already have an idea of what this one's going to be like, because it's pretty similar. But Cole's situation was a little worse than hers. So if you'd like to see my birth story, then please just keep on watching. So Cole was born on January 25th, 2021. He was born at 9:31 p.m. He weighed 6 pounds, 14.5 ounces, and was 20 inches long. And I would say, okay, so the doctor thought I was 36 weeks. I thought I was 38 weeks. At my first appointment, they moved me back about 2 weeks. And I'm pretty sure the day that we conceived him. So I think I'm probably right, but I guess that's up in the air. They still consider me 36 weeks whenever I went in, even though I told them I'm pretty sure what day I conceived this little man. I guess I'll start from the beginning. So before Cole was born, and actually with my first pregnancy with Tegan, I was diagnosed with something called cholestasis of pregnancy, which is liver disease, where your liver does not get rid of the bile, and it starts to overflow and go up into your bloodstream, and it can go into the placenta and harm the baby, and it can cause a stillbirth. So it's a very serious high-risk condition, and since I had it with my daughter, I kind of knew to look out for it with Cole. And it doesn't show up until the 3rd trimester, so if you're going to get cholestasis, you're not going to know until the 3rd trimester. And my main symptom, and a lot of people's symptom, is itchy hands and feet. And that is how I discovered it with Tegan. And this time, I was really cautious about it, so I started noticing right around my 3rd trimester. We went down to Tennessee for a couple weeks because it was Christmas time. And as soon, I mean, literally the night, like, didn't have any issues until literally the night we got down to Tennessee. My hands started itching really badly, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Of course, I'm in Tennessee for like 2 weeks, and my doctor's in Iowa, so that didn't work out too well. So I started noticing for a couple days after we got to Tennessee, my hands and feet started itching, and then my whole body went into full-blown, like, could not sleep itch mode, and it was, I can't even describe how awful it is to just have to scratch your legs. It was mostly my legs, just non-stop, and it just, you can't sleep. I was keeping my husband awake, I was keeping myself awake, I was just constantly moving and scratching, and it sucks. So since I knew, you know, that this was cholestasis, I called my doctor. I'm like, you know, I'm out of town, I can't really get a test from you right now. Do you want me to go to a clinic here in Tennessee and get my blood work done and see if my bile salts level is high? And she was like, no, you know, you're coming back pretty soon. You're still pretty early in your 3rd trimester, so why don't you just ride it out? If you really need some relief, you can try some Benadryl, and just, you know, come see me as soon as you get home. So that's what I did. I made an appointment for right when I got back, and lo and behold, I had cholestasis of pregnancy. And what they do is they test your liver enzymes and your bile salt levels, and they send it in to a company, and it takes a couple days to get the results. But basically it can detect if your bile acids are high and like what level it is. So anything over 100 is an increased risk of having a stillbirth. My daughter, I was only a 17, and I think the normal level is like a 10. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll Google it and I'll insert it right here. So my daughter was only a 17, and with Cole it came back as a 70, and which I was like freaking out because I'm like, you know, that's getting close to that 100, which stillbirth can, you know, the likelihood can increase. So that was really scary. But since we knew what was happening and we knew we had time to like prepare, what she did was she put me on this medicine called ursodiol, I believe is how you say it. And later on in the story, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I found out that it did reduce the number from 70 to 20 by the time I was about to give birth. But she put me on ursodiol. She scheduled me to get a shot in the butt, which is a steroid shot, which can help his lungs develop more quickly, because my daughter had respiratory issues when she was born. So I had an appointment every Tuesday and Friday, and they did a stress test both times, a non-stress test, both appointments, and one of those appointments also had an ultrasound, just to keep a very close eye on him because this is considered high risk. So basically that's what we did for the next, I think it was like, by the time we found out and everything, it was like 2 weeks. And then she was like, okay, we're gonna schedule your induction for 36 weeks. And at this point I'm like, whoa, you know, I thought I had another month after that left. So I had to figure out a lot of things, but you know, I should have known. But so we scheduled my induction for 36 weeks and just kept a close eye on little man and tracked his movements and everything up until that point. So I went in at 7 o'clock in the morning on January 25th. And of course that day there was going to be a blizzard and we were supposed to get like 8 inches of snow, but whatever. So we went into the hospital ready to give birth to this little man, and I got induced. It was probably like 8:30 by the time I got induced. And basically they just put me on Pitocin, and I was already dilated to 2 and 80% of face whenever I went in. So they just put me on some Pitocin to help speed up the labor and get me in the process, which is the same thing I had to do with Tegan, so I kind of knew what to expect. But what's funny this time is my contractions, although they were getting pretty heavy and like, I don't know what you call it, close together and strong. With Pitocin, with Tegan, my contractions felt absolutely terrible. But with him, they really weren't that unbearable. But as they started upping the Pitocin, they started getting a little more intense. And I knew I wanted an epidural. I had an epidural with my daughter, and I was like, please, let's just go ahead and plan for that. So with my daughter, it took them like an hour to show up for the epidural. And so I went ahead, whenever I started feeling just an average amount of pain, like a decent, it wasn't like unbearable, but whenever I started feeling pain, I was like, let's go ahead and call the epidural guy, because I know in an hour it's going to be really unbearable. But what's funny is the guy showed up within like 3 minutes. He was there, he was ready to go, and he ended up telling me I was the smiliest lady and the happiest lady in labor that he'd seen in a really long time. And I'm like, yeah, because I really wasn't in that much pain. But when I told him that I expected him to be like an hour, he was like, well, do you want me to leave? And I said, no, let's go ahead and do it. I don't want to be in pain. So I kind of felt like I cheated the pain a little bit, but you know, it sucks. Contractions are terrible, okay? So I was kind of happy with it. So anyways, yeah, I just basically laid there and had contractions until I don't know, they came in and checked me every once in a while, and his head was just getting lower and lower, and everything was kind of getting into place. They broke my water, all that good fun stuff. I had to lay with the peanut ball or whatever it's called, and eventually I just felt his head, like I could have sworn he was just about to fall out of me laying in bed there, because I could still feel, you know, what was going on. Because that was my plan with the epidural, was to still be able to feel, so I could feel how to push. Because with Tegan, it took me 2 hours to push her out because I couldn't feel anything. So I wanted to be able to feel something so that I could tell how I was pushing, you know what I mean? Yeah, I felt like he was about to fall out, and she came in there and checked, and you know, was like, you could probably push now, but let's wait a little longer so you don't really have to push. You can only push like 5 times and get him out, you know? And I'm like, he's literally like, it felt like he was pulsing in and out of my vagina, okay? And so anyway, she came in at like 9 o'clock or 9:15, I don't know what time it was exactly. But she came in and she was like, oh, yep, I see him, it's time to push. And I'm like, okay. So I start pushing, blah, blah. It took like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, got him out, all was good. And the thing my husband and I prayed the most for, whenever we found out that cholestasis was happening, we were just like, please let him come out breathing, please let him come out fine and good, and let the steroids work for him, and please just help us to have a healthy baby this time. And with my daughter, she came out and they put her on my chest, and basically we didn't know anything about her for 5 hours, because when they laid her on my chest, she wasn't catching her breath, she wasn't crying, they were trying to get her to breathe in the room, and then they just took her to the NICU and didn't really tell us anything for like 5 hours. So that was absolutely scary and terrifying, and especially with it being your first one. So this time we were a little more prepared to, you know, have something like that happen, especially since he was a week earlier, according to them, which again, I thought he was 38 weeks. They say he was 36, whatever. So anyways, he came out, he was beautiful, he cried, he scored a 10 out of 10 on that test. I can't think what it's called, but I'll put it on the screen. And they just said he was perfect, you can go home on Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. He was crying, he was great, we were FaceTiming people. But then about an hour and a half later, he started breathing like, what did she call it? Grunting, I think. So he was having really grunty breaths, and she was like, that's not normal. So another nurse came in, and they kind of got the oxygen machine and put him on it for a minute, and just to see if he would, you know, start to do a little better. And it just gradually got worse as he was on the oxygen. They had to keep turning it up. So they were like, you know what, we're gonna take him to the NICU, we're gonna get the doctor in here to look at him, blah, blah, blah. So since we had kind of been through this before, we felt, you know, decently okay with what they were gonna be doing. Obviously they wanted to look at him before we could come back there, so I just went ahead and got a shower and started to get my breastfeeding pumping supplies together, and they finally let us go back to see him in about, it was probably 3 hours later. We went to go back to see him in the NICU, and he was on CPAP and, you know, attached to all the monitors and everything. And again, like I said, it was blizzarding outside. So basically what the doctor came in and said was that, and this was the next morning. So the doctor comes in and he's like, you know, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about the weather situation, and if he were to get critical, it'd be really hard to get him up to Iowa City, so why don't we just go ahead and send him up there while he's in a good, stable condition, just in case he needs something called surfactant, which is the coating on your lungs. They have the ability to put this coating on your lungs that helps you hold air in your lungs, which we're all born with, but apparently sometimes when your lungs aren't fully developed, or, you know, whatever, that surfactant can be just too little, and your lungs won't hold the air as they should. So yeah, so anyways, they sent him up to Iowa City that day. They originally were going to airlift him just because of the snow and everything, but they decided that that was too unsafe, and the roads ended up being cleared off some, you know, good enough that they thought they could drive and come get him. So they came and got him and had him in this little machine in the ambulance, and I got discharged after 12 hours and was sent up there with him. Technically, I wasn't sent up there with him. I was not in the hospital anymore. I was discharged, and I just got to follow him up there. So we drove up there, and they took him in the NICU, and that was about it. They did end up putting their surfactant on his lungs. He was in the real NICU for about a week, and then he was transferred to the more children's hospital NICU, which is not as intense, for 2 weeks while he learned how to feed, and he had a nose tube, whatever that's called. He had a tube in his nose that fed him for those first about 2 weeks. But the second week of those 2 weeks, we started, you know, gradually trying to feed him. They have 4 phases of feeding, and we had to go through all 4 phases, and by that, almost the 3rd week, we were able to go home because he was eating all of his meals by mouth, and his nose tube was able to be taken out, and he was doing really well. But it did take him 3 weeks to get to that point, and it was obviously very scary, and we have another child at home, so we had to juggle going back and forth 2 hours away to this NICU and staying up there versus staying here, and it was snowing all the time, and it was crazy. But after we came home, he has been doing so great, and he hasn't had any issues, and he's been breathing well, and he cries well, and he sleeps well, and he does everything well, and he's a very good baby. And literally, like right now, he'll sleep from about 9 or 10 p.m. until like 7 or 8 a.m. So we're very blessed in that department. And he is just such a perfect little angel. He's such a sweet boy. And he looks just like his sister, which looks just like my husband. And no babies look like me, but that's fine. It's okay. And he's got a 99 percentile head, and he's chubby. And breastfeeding didn't 100% work out for us because of the whole NICU stay, and 3 weeks of trying to wake up in the middle of the night to pump is just, it sounds like it shouldn't be that hard, especially when you've had a child before, but I just couldn't wake up to pump. So I would sleep through my alarms, and it was just, you know, when you're doing all that, you're just worn out and exhausted. It's just so hard to wake up at the night when you don't actually have to, when there's not a baby crying for you to wake up, you know what I mean? So milk didn't come in fully. I feed him about half of my breast milk a day, and the other half is formula, which is working out well for us. And he's a little chunker munker, and he's so cute. It's a little different having a boy. My first child was a girl, and you know, we had to, you know what they did? They literally circumcised them with me in the room. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And he didn't get circumcised until right before we left the hospital, so he was almost 3 weeks old. And that was interesting that they did that with me in the room. I was like, I'm gonna go in the bathroom. I don't want to see this. But yeah, anyways, of course he falls asleep on me while we're filming. I can't get a good angle on this man. Oh. Okay, hold on. You're so special. Oh, you're so precious. Okay, I'll leave you alone. I'm sorry. So anyways, that is the birth story of my little man named Cole. And again, he is 3 months. He's thriving. He's doing great. And he's such a good little boy. So 2 under 2 has been fun. My daughter just turned 2. So now we're not 2 under 2 anymore. But it's honestly not that bad. And she has been an amazing big sister with him. She's so good. She cares so deeply when he... Sorry, my camera stopped recording and this little man woke up, so I guess it worked out. But anyways, I was just saying that having 202 has been so amazing. She's such a good big sister. She cares so much about him and just loves him so much. So she's a very good big sister. But anyways, that is my story about Cole and his birth story and just how precious of an angel he is. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed meeting Cole. I'm sorry it took me so long to film this. But yeah, I mean 202 is still a little hectic, let me tell you. But it's not as bad as I thought it would be by any means. So anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will hopefully see you in my next video. Okay, we'll see you later. Say bye, Cole. Bye. Look how chunky he is. Oh my goodness, what a chunk.